Like, if you could tell Trump anything, what would it be?
Buy us.
Buy Greenland?
Buy Greenland.
Why do you want Trump to buy Greenland?
Because we don't want to be colonized by Danish government anymore. We get ripped every year about our minerals from Greenland. We are the richest nation in the world, and we don't get to use it. Denmark's using us too much.
Do you like America?
I love America, but people are too fat over there.
That's Greenland giving the green light to President-elect Donald Trump's idea to take over the country. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of First Edition only on Newsmax 2. I'm John Burnett.
And I'm Krisha Lenzo. It's Wednesday, January 8th, and Donald Trump held a press conference yesterday at Mar-a-Lago for over an hour talking about just about every issue facing Americans today. It's really incredible how he's able to shift between these issues, also talking about the hostages, saying there will be hell to pay if they are not released before he is in office. But going back to Greenland and the Panama Canal, he also wants to call the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
Gulf of America.
The reason why he can shift around, Krisha, is because he's not like governed, I should say, by a prompter.
Good
he
point.
speaks his mind, and that's why people put him back in the White House, because he speaks his mind. And you know who else speak their mind?
Who?
Let's bring our political panel. T.W. Shannon. He's a former Republican speaker for the Oklahoma House of Representatives and Newsmax contributor and a fellow turtleneck wearer.
Ooh.
Absolutely. And we're joined by Lee Nevis. He's a Democratic strategist. Welcome back to First Edition. I can't wait to get into these topics.
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen. So here's more of what Trump had to say yesterday.
We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult. Inflation is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. President Biden's actions yesterday on offshore drilling, banning offshore drilling, will not stand. I will reverse it immediately. It'll be done immediately. And we will drill, baby, drill. And we're going to be drilling in a lot of other locations. And the energy costs are going to come way down. They'll be brought down to a very low level. And that's going to bring everything else down. That's what caused it to go up, along with the ridiculous spending on the Green New scam. All this money, trillions of dollars. It's like throwing it right out the window, what they're doing. So we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico.
You know what, T.W. Shannon? He can fit so many things in to a short period of time. It's amazing, right?
It is. I'm going to start with you, Lee, because I know TW and John have a turtleneck connection. Lee, there's a lot to react to here. Trump going through so many different topics. Start wherever you want.
You know, first I need to say, John, I absolutely love that. I love your sports coat this morning. I need to know where you got it, and I need to get me one.
I'll send it to you.
Absolutely fascinated by that sports coat this morning. You know, it's Trump's brand. He loves to go from topic to topic to topic. Sometimes you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and it has been his undoing in the past. It seems to be working for him now. His breadth of topics is just amazing. The Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I mean, if he's looking to make every map maker in America mad, he did a really good job of it there. Really, that's an interesting thing to pick up on. But, you know, him talking about Greenland, him talking about buying Greenland, buying the Panama Canal back, it is very interesting that he creates the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, to cut government spending, yet is talking about taking over these other foreign entities that will, I'm shocked when this is going to come out of my mouth, guys, will increase government spending. it's going to cost a pretty penny to run Greenland. It's going to cost a pretty penny to take over the Panama Canal. So, and not only that, look, like I said, Trump is very famous and very good at just spitballing whatever's on his mind, but it's three branches of government, and you kind of got to get it to pass all three at the end of the day. Has to pass Congress, it has to pass High Court, the whatever appeals come before the High Court. But it's one thing to want to do something; it's one thing to actually get it done. And I think as Trump found out in his first term, it'll be a little hard, even though he does have a Republican government. It'll be a little harder to actually get behind Greenland through Congress.
Hold on, TW, 1 second. Lee, thank you for the compliment. I understand what you're saying, but I completely disagree with you. If, in fact, what you said in terms of the maps, it'll actually increase their revenue because people have to buy all new maps. and more importantly, TW, I wasn't shocked by anything that Trump said in that news conference, except the fact that El Golfo de Mexico will now be the Gulf of America. What say you?
Well, first, it was just refreshing to hear a leader actually sit down and visit with the American people about the issues that are on their minds, since Joe Biden has been hiding from us for the last 6 months, particularly. So it was just good to hear that. But more importantly, you know, the issues that Donald Trump brings forth, whether it's the Panama Canal or we're talking about Greenland or the Gulf of America. I mean, listen, what we see a president-elect doing, he's putting America back on the offense, something that we haven't seen for 4 years now. And so, yeah, I think the American people, even though, you know, he hasn't had the time yet, he was just elected by the American people overwhelmingly a few weeks ago. He hasn't had a chance to sit down and really explain what the true value of all of these issues is. But it was just nice, I think, for the American people to see America back on the offense. Again, the world is a safer place when the United States of America is leading, and we haven't done that in the last 4 years. And we've seen the chaos that has been created, whether we're talking about the endless wars in Europe or we're talking about the war raging in Israel right now. We see what happens when America takes a back seat. And so Donald Trump putting America back on the offense was refreshing. These issues in and of themselves on their face make a lot of sense. Certainly, when you think about the amount of money we spend for the security of places like Greenland and the rest of Europe, it makes a lot of sense. You didn't talk about, you know, also making Canada the 51st state. I mean, listen, there's a lot of value, I think, in where Donald Trump starts with negotiation. I got on the back on my other side, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got The Art of the Deal back there. And this, if you've read that book, this sounds a lot like him setting up, signaling what the priorities are going to be and a starting point for negotiations. Because, again, the world is a very dangerous place. And if we're going to make America first, if we're going to have America first policies again, it starts with negotiating around the world. And nobody did it better than Donald Trump. And it was just refreshing to have it back coming out of the potential future White House.
That's right. He's back. He's putting America back on offense, shooting threes and throwing Hail Marys into the red zone.
Right, and even big tech CEOs are changing their tune as a result of Trump being on the offense. To your point, TW, another big headline yesterday, Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg ending the use of third-party fact checkers. Instead, he will rely on users to add notes to posts. Lee, is this a smart move?
I mean, it's smart for business. It's also probably one of the most blatant panders I've ever seen. But it's smart for business. You know, I think Mark Zuckerberg needs to be in the good graces of whatever administration is in office, be it a Democrat one or a Republican one. He is very aware of the possibility of regulation of social media, regulation of AI. He's going all in on the metaverse. So he wants to be in the good graces of whatever administration is in, and he's going to pander whichever way the wind is blowing in Washington. So for Zuckerberg, for his bottom line, it's smart business. It's a massive pander, and I think everyone sees that. But he's going to do what's good for his bank account.
Well, I think, TW, I think what Mark Zuckerberg is doing is going back to the roots of Facebook, its values, open discourse, and open dialogue. and not having individuals or possibly certain organizations come in and try to influence what is tolerable and what is not tolerable, because that undermines free speech. What say you?
A couple of years ago, John, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, in a dissenting opinion, wrote that it may be time to consider these social media platforms as utilities, to regulate them as utilities, because they become the modern day marketplace of ideas. And when we see powerful, CEOs who are able to, squelch free speech, they're able to, basically deny a First Amendment right, they're able to cancel individuals, we see a very, very strong, very, very powerful median that the founding fathers, unfortunately, weren't able to anticipate and completely in their ideas. And so I think it makes a lot of sense that they did consider the First Amendment rights and how those need to be protected. And so I think, Justice Thomas, who I think is the greatest Supreme Court justice maybe in the history of American jurisprudence, I think he brings up a really good point. And this is just another example. And I do agree with Lee that there seems to be a lot of pandering for Mark Zuckerberg. In fact, the next article that came out after him, I think it was from Newsweek, there were the fact checkers reporting and checking him that that's not accurate. That, the way that the fact checking work is they just did some of the work, but the final decision stopped with the Facebook management group. So he's certainly distanced himself from that. It's a smart move, I think, for business. It's a smart move politically, but I don't know that the American people have bought it. A lot of people canceled Facebook for that very reason, because they saw and it wasn't just Mark Zuckerberg, it was a coordinated effort by the left to squelch free speech. And I think it backfired in a major way, because the American people said, no, we're still Americans. We still believe in our fundamental rights, and we're going to stand up against it. And that's what the election of Donald Trump was all about.
And I see something else on your bookcase too, TW. It says, let us be silent so that way we can hear from God. As
Amen.
for everything else, like social media, let the discourse begin so we can actually crush the lies.
Exactly.
Well said.
I agree that I'm not necessarily buying that Zuckerberg will follow through with much of this. We'll have to see how it plays out. But Lee, turning to this, you're in California, I believe. Are you anywhere near the wildfires?
Thankfully I am not. I'm in Northern California, but it's something we deal with out here in California every single year. I'm in Northern California. We get wildfires up. I mean, you've seen the wildfires both in the Sierra Nevada, in wine country, that basically all of Northern California has had to deal with in years past. It is something that it's a yearly occurrence, and it's tragic. And it's tragic to see the homes burn down and people lose their homes and everything they've worked for. But it really is, when it's something you deal with every year, it's somewhere you got to get down to the root cause of what is causing this. And there needs to be an improvement to wildfire protection. There needs to be a thinning out of the deadwood of the forest, a lot of which fuels these wildfires. There needs to be better infrastructure for our energy infrastructure here in California, because a lot of these wildfires cause, you've seen the lawsuits against PG&E because their faulty lines have caused wildfires during wind events. So it really, when it happens, like I said, when it happens year after year after year, you got to step back and see, why does it happen? And let's fix it. Put the partisan blinders aside. Put aside what Republicans want, what Democrats want. Let's fix this problem that eviscerates so many people's lives on a yearly basis.
TW, I'm not too sure if you have family in California, but I do know that Oklahoma is going through a cold front, specifically in Oklahoma City. It's 18 degrees. That's colder than New York City.
Yeah, it gets cold here. That wind sweeping down the plain, that is not a figure of speech. That is a literal description of what happens here in Oklahoma. We get everything from wildfires. We certainly had our share. We get floods. We get, torrential rainfalls. We get droughts. And right now we're suffering through a cold spell, but we're tough. We're resilient. We're going to get through this, thanks in part to our commitment to the fossil fuel industry. Thank God for fossil fuels. Anybody who says differently, I don't know what planet they're on.
Gotcha. We'll have to leave it there. T.W. Shannon, Lee Nevis, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
Happy New
having
Year.
me.
You got it.